Yeah.
And I got him to take it over and he put the whole clutch and the assembly, everything in.
Yeah. Now, when the clutch comes off, what does the old one look like? Do you know?
Oh, well, you see, I've never had enough senses to grab it and have a look.
No.
I'm only interested in the car running.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have, but until I heard your program, I thought, well, I just bought a pig in the poke, but it's a lovely little car, honestly.
Sure, it is, yeah, sure. They're very lovely cars. No, I would say that just from what you have been telling me, that either something is going wrong every time they fit the new clutch in, and they do not correctly adjust the clutch to begin with. Or alternatively, there is an oil leak from the main seal at the back of the engine, leaking oil onto the clutch and contaminating it that way, and that would in a very short space of time again and again do a new clutch a lot of damage. And the other thing that you would want them to look at this time around is to make certain that the flywheel that's fitted to the engine is of the correct specification and at the correct distance away from the crank. Because that would be the only other reason why new clutches continuously keep
being needed.
Ruining themselves. Because if the flywheel is not the correct type and distance away from the crankshaft, then no matter how many clutches you throw at it, you would over-operate the clutch all the time and ruin it in a very short space of time. That's why I said to you it's quite important to find out what happened with the old clutch, because you can tell a lot of tales from
yes,
just looking at the old parts and see what kind of damage they have incurred.
I remember when I had the Jaguar and the clutch went in X amount of weeks. I took it up to the Coventry shop, and they gave me a test and they said I don't stand on the clutch, but they showed me the clutch and it was scored as if somebody'd got a diamond and cut it all about.
Yeah.
But they found out it was the master cylinder.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was quite.
In this case, I've had too many clutches, 6.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that on what you said there about being correctly adjusted, I took it to a certain pretty large garage and they said come back and get it adjusted. But before I got back to get it adjusted, it had gone.
Oh my God!
And when I took it back and complained, they said, "Oh, you didn't bring it back to get it adjusted, therefore I had to pay for another new clutch, about 140."
Yeah,
it's a bit wearisome.
Yeah, of course it is, and of course it's a very bad thing to do. I mean, the garage has no right to say that to you. They are definitely not serving you well as a customer when they state things like that. Because if they ask you to come in for a clutch adjustment, and then the clutch goes in the meantime, that is not your fault in particular. Clutches do not go that quickly, and certainly they must have realized that something more serious was wrong. I would say this: whoever you are going to next, you've got to make it clear to them that this is the 7th clutch and that there is something seriously amiss, and it is no use at all to fit a new clutch willy-nilly, stick it all back together and hope for the best. You've got to find the cause. And I would say go to a Lancia dealer, and in particular see if you can get a hold of the Lancia Owners Club, and then get in touch with Fulvia owners themselves, and especially the club secretary. He will know the technical wizard that's within the Lancia Fulvia club, and then they will help you the most of all. I think that's the most helpful advice I can give you at this point. All right, there, Chris?
Thank you very much for your call, Chris. George is next in Potter's Bar. Hello, George.
Hello, Mr. Sauer.
Hello.
I've got an Austin Metro VDP,
right.
4 years old.
Right.
And each time I switch it off, it runs on. Now, this started about 2 months ago, and I took it back to Austin Rovers at Luton, and, oh yes, they said, we've had this trouble with them, what you need is a modification.
An anti-dieseling valve.
Pardon?
An anti-dieseling valve.
Well, it's something they fitted. It cost a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah, that's right. 50,
and they said what actually happens is that when you switch it off, it draws the petrol out of the carburetor or something.
No, it draws in extra air.
Or extra air.
That's right.
Well, I had had it done.
And it still runs on.
And it still runs on.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Any suggestions, sir?
Well, okay. How many miles has the metro done, George?
It's done just over 16,000.
And what year was it, did you say?
4 years old.
4 years old,
Yeah.
That's correct, yeah. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think you're probably going to have to lift the cylinder head off the engine.
I see.
Yeah, because I think that this sounds... well, okay, make 2 checks first before you go this route. But the first check you've got to make is that the engine idle speed is correct.
I see.
Because it needs to be somewhere around 750, 760 RPM, no higher.
I see.
If it goes higher than that, it will run on no matter what you do. And the second thing you must check is that the engine has got the correct coolant temperature, because they do tend to run hot sometimes, and if they run too hot, running on again will happen. So those are the 2 things that have to be checked first.
I see.
And of course, whilst they're at it, they might as well check the ignition timing. But
And the ignition as well.
yeah,
I see.
and then after that's all okay, and presuming it's all okay, then I would say you really have to take the cylinder head off, clean out the combustion chambers, and have the valve seat recut, and ask them to slightly lower the compression ratio. It is a common problem at the moment with the low lead fuel, so lowering the compression ratio will stand you in good stead for the future, and will also cut the running on as well.
Oh, I see.
All right.
I see. And some people have told me that it's something to do with the petrol I'm using, you see.
That's correct.
And it is correct, is it?
Yes, well, it's not the petrol you are using. It is the fact that the petrol is now being reduced in lead dramatically. And the engine was designed in 1948 to run with petrol that was very, very much higher in lead content.
I see.
And that is our problem.
So actually, I mean, if I went on to a top quality petrol, would that improve it, do you think?
Well, sometimes it may make it better, but it's very difficult to be categorical about it, because you see, even if you buy good petrol, it may still not have the correct octane rating. The so-called research octane number, RON number, may not be the same. Okay, may not be good enough. So no, I would say on balance that it is probably not just down to getting good petrol. It doesn't sound like that anyway.
George, thank you very much for your call. If you have a question for Gerard Sauer, give us a ring now on 353 8111.
Rondo Veneziano present their album Venice in Peril. Experience the power and excitement of the classic sound of our time. Rondo Veneziano, Venice in Peril. Music you'll want to listen to again and again.
The main news stories at 12:30. The IRA is now admitting it planted a bomb that injured 3 soldiers and a civilian at a British Army barracks in West Germany. Local police are trying to trace 2 cars seen racing away from the scene just before yesterday's explosion. Home Office scientists are carrying out a detailed examination on an aerosol can after it blew up in a house in Bristol, injuring a woman and her baby. The woman suffered burns to her hands, arms and knees, and the child had to be treated for minor burns. Both have now been released from hospital. Italian police are conducting a major sweep against mafia kidnap gangs in Calabria, where a man and his grandson were grabbed. As more than 2,000 police moved into the area, the kidnappers let the younger man go just a day after seizing him, but they still hold his grandfather, a Naples merchant. As holidaymakers again queue up at British airports, experts are desperately trying to fix an air traffic control computer that's causing severe disruption to flights. Because of the computer fault, controllers are having to handle less traffic, and the longer the computer is down, the worse it's going to get. Now the weather today, sunny and hot all day long, temperatures reaching 26 centigrade, 79 Fahrenheit. And tonight, staying fine and warm. Central London's temperature falling to 17 centigrade, 63 Fahrenheit. Out of town to 13 centigrade, 55 Fahrenheit. And the outlook for tomorrow, more of the same. Sounds all right, doesn't it? Sports news now from Guy Hafford.
Well, we start with the 5th and final Cornhill Test match at the Oval. England began the day 86 runs ahead of the West Indies with 3 wickets down. For news of what has so far been a good morning for England, here's our cricket correspondent, Dominic Allen.
England now 113 for 4 with Gooch 40 not out and Maynard 4. England lost their first wicket of the day after an hour and 25 minutes play when Foster, the night watchman, was caught by Logie at backward square